Who played the Libyan terrorist in Back to the Future? Okay.
Steve Smith.
Richard L. Duran and Jeff O'Hako.
Jeff O what?
O apostrophe Haco. Is that Arab?
I've never known an Arab name to start with O something.
Richard and Jeff.
Yeah, not super Libyan, but you never know.
Let me pull up the images. These are
Yeah.
spray canned white guys. So does that make it better or worse that they
Worse.
weren't?
You didn't even give the Arabs the money.
Welcome to The Girlfriend, the Sex Object, the Nag, the podcast. I am Kat Rhinehart. I'm a writer, director, mother of Dose, living in Los Angeles. Oh, God. Is that obnoxious that I did that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mother of two, living in Los Angeles.
Mother of Due Lupe. Mother of Die. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. I couldn't think of any other languages for two.
I'm Kat Rhinehart.
Good.
And this is Maria Shehata. You
Damn
go.
right.
Every week, Maria and I bring each other a movie. This week, it's my turn to do the movie, and I chose a listener request.
Before we get into that, I just want to, just a couple announcements. We do tend to spoil movies with no regard and immediately. So we spoil movies. So just so you know that. And the second thing is if you want to give us money for spoiling movies, because, you know, it does take a lot of time to record and edit and post and all that. And if you want to support us because you like us, we have a Ko-fi account. So it's ko-fi, /thenagpod. If you want to just donate a couple dollars, buy us a coffee or whatever, we'd really appreciate that. And we appreciate all your support for watching and all that stuff.
Watching, subscribing, smashing that like button.
Smash the subscribe button. I mean, you can press the like button.
Delicately press the like button. Tell your friends, especially if we have a very niche audience that we're trying to reach. And if you think you know someone who might like our podcast, let them know.
Yeah.
So this week we are doing our very first listener request.
Can I don't hate me, but can you just speak like a normal person? Because you have this podcast like announcer thing that a normal request. Can you just be like, sorry.
It's my waitress voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Get rid of the waitress voice.
I'll be like, hi, good evening.
How are we today?
How are we doing tonight? Are we celebrating anything? Welcome to the Cheesecake Factory. Okay, I'm leaving all that in.
Good.
Okay, so this week we're doing a listener request. We have a YouTube listener named Winnie. She suggested actually a bunch of really wonderful movies. I did a copy paste, and Winnie, we hear you, and I think I'm going to do a bunch of yours, but I'm starting with Back to the Future.
Nice.
Which I thought was a great suggestion. There's a bunch of Back to the Futures. I'm starting with the original Back to the Future. So thank you, Winnie, I think, for the suggestion. We'll see how this goes. Yes, no, regardless. Thank you, Winnie, for the suggestion.
Thanks, Winnie.
Let's get into Back to the Future. Maria, first of all, have you seen this movie?
Yes. And actually not that long ago was the first time I ever watched it. Johnny really loves this movie, my boyfriend. But having just seen it, I still don't remember it, but go on.
I have seen it before, but it had been a long time. I didn't really remember that much about it, so it was fun to rewatch. And I love this movie. As a screenplay, it's phenomenal. The writing is so good. It's absolutely worth studying. It's fantastic. However, that being said, we will get into the female characters, and I do have some notes. So Back to the Future. Oh, there's my podcast voice. So Back to the Future, 1985. It's written by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, directed by Robert Zemeckis. And one of the most interesting,
do you think they had fights about who got to be Rob and who got to be Bob? Who got to be Robert Zemeckis? And yeah. But I want to be Robert Gale, but I'm Robert Zemeckis. It's too confusing. Bob Zemeckis? No, thank you. I'm Robert Zemeckis, and that's the way it's going to be. I think they should have went with Bob and Bob.
Bob and Bob. The Bobs.
The Bobs from Office Space.
Written by the Bobs. I wonder how Bob number 2 felt about Bob 1 directing it.
I'm confused. So Bob number 2 in your mind is?
Bob Gale.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
But he also was the second credit. So it was probably Robert Zemeckis' idea. And then his friend Bob was like, sure, Bob. Okay. Anyway, one of the most fascinating things about Back to the Future, you probably know this or have heard this before in the zeitgeist, is that they shot this movie for 7 weeks with a different actor as the lead. Did you know that?
No, who was the lead?
Eric Stoltz.
Okay.
So look him up. You'll recognize his face when you see him.
And then what happened?
Bob number 1, Robert Zemeckis, he didn't think that Eric Stoltz was playing it right. Eric Stoltz was playing it too seriously, like too dramatically, and
Mm.
wanted more of a comedy actor, like more of like a lighthearted. Robert Zemeckis wanted Michael J. Fox, but Michael J. Fox wasn't available. So he went with Eric Stoltz, and I knew that he had shot this other guy and then recast later as Michael J. Fox, but I didn't know how long they actually shot. They shot for 7 weeks and then recast. That is a
Wow.
long time. That's millions of dollars. And I mean, that's pretty wild to shoot for 7 weeks and then be like, you know what? Actually, and they let him do it. And honestly, I think for the best, because I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie where if it's like hitting you too hard, it's just not the same movie. Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly took this whole adventure kind of on the chin, you know?
Yeah.
He
I mean,
was like,
yeah. I just, as an actor, I worry about Eric, like how stressful that must have been when he realized he wasn't getting along with Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis was asking something of him. He just wasn't getting it. I don't understand what he didn't like about that line. I thought it was brilliant. I could win an Oscar with that line. Robert Zemeckis is not what we want.
yeah.
And he was like, what are they going to do? Recast me? It's going to cost them millions. Cut to.
It's almost like he had like Daniel Day-Lewis as Marty McFly when he wanted, what's the comp there?
To Daniel Day-Lewis's drama? Larry David? Adam Sandler?
I would kill to see some of this footage. I don't think it's available, which is amazing that it's not, but somehow they have kept it under lock and key. I feel like it would be worth it for us to find that footage and show clips of Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly and then clips of Michael J. Fox as Marty McFly as a lesson in tone.
Yeah, 100% agreed. Like, just to see what the difference is.
Tone is everything. This is a really fun movie, but I could see if you're taking it too seriously, it can become pretty dark pretty quickly because I had forgotten about how Christopher Lloyd's character, thank you. What's his name? Doc
Isn't
oh
it Doc
gosh.
Brown?
Thank you, Doc Brown. He gets, first of all, I mean, this is like incredibly racist, insane scene with like the Arab guys coming up with the guns. Do you remember this?
I think so. I don't know if I clocked they were Arab.
Where are they from?
Were they
Muslim.
screaming Allah Akbar or what?
I
Like,
think they are.
really?
It's pretty bad. Like you're like, oof. But they shoot him up. Like Doc Brown gets shot up by terrorists. So that's pretty bleak.
I didn't know the 80s had Arab terrorists.
What?
I said I didn't know the 80s had Arab terrorists.
The Bobs were so ahead of their time.
I know.
Who shoots Doc Brown? Libyan.
Okay, so they are. They are.
Yeah, they are brown. Like
How racist am I that I didn't even pick up on it? I was like, yeah, Arab terrorists.
there was probably like 6 Arab actors in Los Angeles in the 80s, like trying to make it, you know, and they're like, all right, we got an audition.
Is it for a lead in a sitcom? No. Is it a cereal commercial? Afraid not.
No.
Do you own a balaclava?
I wonder if they look like they had brown makeup on. I wonder if the actual actors were.
Oh, right.
I do want to stick to the female characters, but while we're on it, did you remember how Marty McFly gives Chuck Berry his sound?
Oh, yeah. You know that Elvis invented the blues, so, like, obviously.
Right, yeah. So Chuck Berry learns how to play music from Marty McFly, which, like, that's obviously, you wouldn't do that now. But
No.
okay, Libyan terrorist. I want to see the actual actors who play the Libyan terrorist in Back to the Future. Okay.
Steve Smith.
Richard L. Duran and Jeff O'Hako.
Jeff O what?
O apostrophe Haco. Is that Arab?
No, I've never known an Arab name to start with O something.
Richard and Jeff.
Yeah, yeah, not super Libyan, but you never know.
Let me pull up the images. Oh God. Okay, yeah. These are
Yeah.
spray canned white guys. So does that make it better or worse that they
Worse.
weren't?
You didn't even give the Arabs the money.
That aside, I'm going to go through the plot real quickly because I think most people know the plot to this movie, and then we'll jump into the female characters. Okay, so it's 1985. There's teenager Marty McFly. He goes to high school. He has a nice girlfriend we meet who's supportive, and he is an aspiring musician, and he is a skateboarder, and they live in this small town, and he's really fucking cool. And he has this friend who's this very eccentric scientist named Doc Brown. And John Mulaney has a funny bit about how there's never any line of dialogue to explain why Marty McFly is friends with Doc
Yeah, I
Brown.
was just wondering, why are they friends? But I didn't wanna derail the this anymore, but, like, doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense why you would have
It's a
this person as a
it's
friend.
a great point. They should not be friends. If my teenage son is going over to this like Doc Brown's house, I would be like, I'm calling the police.
Doc was probably just a weed dealer.
Actually, yeah, that's perfect. But he's kind of a weirdo, and it's like, well, why is Doc? I could see why Marty would want to hang out with Doc, but why would Doc want to hang out with Marty?
Yeah,
Wouldn't Doc have some grown up friends? It's weird for an adult to only be friends with one teenage boy.
yeah.
Anyway, it opens with Marty McFly getting the phone call from Doc Brown where he's like, meet me tonight in the mall parking lot. So there's like this intriguing opening where you're like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this. And then we set up Marty McFly's world where we see that he's in high school. He wants to be a musician. There's like a Battle of the Bands competition. He has this very sweet, supportive girlfriend, and then he has his miserable, struggling family. His dad's a loser, his mom's a drunk. It's just like a day in the life. And that night, he goes and meets Doc Brown in the parking lot. So he meets Doc Brown in the parking lot. Doc Brown shows him the time traveling DeLorean. The Libyan terrorists show up, shoot and kill Doc Brown. He jumps in the car. Boom, he's in 1955. And he disrupts events by preventing his teenage parents, George and Lorraine, from meeting. They established when we meet the family in the dinner scene that George and Lorraine met because Lorraine's dad almost hit him in the street with his car. And he's like, why were you in the street anyway? That's not answered, but that's how they meet. And then they fall in love at this dance. And that's when they had their first kiss. So Marty knows this backstory. But when he's in 1955, he accidentally is the guy in the street instead. So Lorraine's dad almost hits him with his car. He goes into the house, and then Lorraine falls in love with him instead of George, Marty's father. Then
Which
Marty
poses a
finds
big problem because, 1, his mom's trying to make out with him.
yes. So the kind of weird, creepy, incestuous stuff aside, which is weird but also very funny, it's disrupting future events. So if
Yeah.
Marty's parents don't meet and fall in love, Marty doesn't exist. So Marty goes, and then he realizes I need to find Doc Brown. So Marty goes and finds 1955 Doc Brown, and he tells him, at first Doc Brown doesn't believe him, but then he convinces him, I'm from the future. You invented time travel. Here I am. And Doc Brown is like, okay, great. Well, we've got to get you back to 1985. Don't talk to anybody. You could mess up events. And Marty's like, oops, I already did. And then they show a picture of Marty with his family, and he's starting to slowly disappear. So Doc Brown is like, oh no, you have to fix this or like you don't exist. So now Marty has a big problem. He has to get his mom to forget about him, fall in love with his dad, and then also get back to 1985. So this is a dude with a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So he's stranded in the past and maybe erasing his future existence. So he starts trying to get his dad, George, his like the high school version of his dad, to get with Lorraine, but Lorraine is not interested in George, and George is a fucking loser. I don't blame Lorraine for not being interested in him. And she likes Marty McFly. Marty McFly is really fucking cool. He's cool in 1985. He's also really cool in 1955. And meanwhile, they need enough power to get the DeLorean back to 1985. Lightning is going to strike the clock tower. That happens to be enough power to get Marty back to 1985. So that's the plan. So that's how they're going to get Marty back to 1985. But in the meantime, Marty has to get his mom and his dad to fall in love so that he can exist. And that's what happens. And that's the end. No. Okay.
Oh,
So
that's great.
as far as like just going over the general plot before we talk about the female characters, that kind of is basically it. Like Marty gets Lorraine to actually like George. They do get together at the dance. Marty does get his like driving the car at exactly the right time when lightning hits the clock tower, hits the DeLorean, boom, he's back in 1985. But now when he's back in 1985, the family is like all better off and happier now. So he's back in 1985, but it's like a better present than before. Doc Brown had anticipated the Libyan terrorists, so he's able to save his own life. So Doc Brown lives. That's the plot. Marty goes back in time, accidentally disrupts events, fixes the events, goes back to 1985. Everyone's happier and better.
Okay. And,
besides the Libyan terrorists,
He may be a little
Jeff and
scarred from
Jim.
his mom trying to fuck him, but other than that
Yeah, and that was a little weird too, but because the mom is like the 1985 Lorraine is like very prude and uptight, and he can't believe how not uptight 1955 Lorraine is. Who's awesome, by the way. We'll get into that, but I'm a big fan of 1955 Lorraine.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
Okay. So Marty McFly does have a girlfriend, and she's lovely and supportive and is like trying to help him with his band in the beginning. But I don't want to really talk about Marty McFly as far as the girlfriend, as far as the female character at all. Who I really want to talk about is Lorraine McFly.
Okay.
That's the female character I want to focus on. So when we meet Lorraine McFly at dinner the first night in 1985, she's overweight, she's miserable, and she's an alcoholic. So she's like drinking, she's smoking, she's very unhappy. She's just miserable. And then the dad, George, is just this big loser. He's just watching TV during dinner. Like she hates his fucking
He also
guts.
gets bullied, right?
Yes, I'll get to that. Yes. So
Okay.
Lorraine, she hates her life. She drinks. She hates her husband. She just like scowls at him. You can tell she hates his guts. You kind of can't believe that Marty McFly came from these two people because he's so cool. He skateboards and plays guitar. He gave
Yeah.
Chuck Berry his sound. But so there's this guy named Biff. Biff is Marty's dad's boss, and he's just a real piece of shit. He's mean. He's a bully. We just don't like him, and he really pushes George around, and he does in front of the whole family, and it's really embarrassing and kind of hard to watch.
Yeah,
And
nobody wants to see their dad get emasculated.
nobody wants to see their dad get emasculated, and Biff really does it. Biff is just a big jerk.
Can we just talk about how great the name Biff is for a character like that?
Yeah,
It's like,
actually.
Biff isn't a name, it's a sound.
Right.
I just biffed, I'm sorry, but, like, it's just such a fucking great name. Like, I wonder how many names they went through. They're like, "What about Scott?" Like, no, it's not quite there.
Biff is the perfect name for the bully, and the casting was spot on. And honestly, the dad casting was really good too, because seems like a real big loser. He's just this weak man who gets pushed around by his boss, Biff.
Okay.
So, and then his mom is miserable. So then when we meet his parents in 1955, when they're teenagers in high school, Lorraine, she's cute, she's fun, she's confident, she's sexual, she's adventurous. She he meets Marty, and she's really into him. She really likes him. Like she wants him. And Marty is so taken aback by this because he thinks his mother is this prude who never parked. But she definitely she tries to kiss him a lot. I mean, she's very forward, especially for a girl in the 50s. And he's so shocked by this. But I love it. I think she's like fun and young and adventurous and confident, and she has all these wonderful traits that she does not have in 1985. So it turns out that the reason why Marty's dad George was in the street when Lorraine's dad almost hit him with his car is because he is a fucking peeping Tom.
Mm,
So he's in a tree spying on Lorraine, and he
okay.
falls out of the tree into the street. But Marty sees him peeping and tries to get him out of the tree. And then Marty falls into the street. Originally, he hits George, and that's how Lorraine meets George, and that's how they fall in love. And that's why they were like, "Why were you in the street, Dad?" And it's like, "Oh, surprise, surprise, twist. He was a fucking peeping Tom." So George falls out of the tree. Lorraine's dad's car's coming down the street. Marty sees this happen. He pushes his dad out of the way. And so the car hits Marty. And so that's why Marty goes into the house instead. So now it's like, whoops, I was trying to save my dad's life. I accidentally now put myself in this position where now my mom is falling in love with me instead. And he starts going to the school. It's so genius because in him trying to get Lorraine to notice George now that they haven't met in the way they were supposed to, Lorraine keeps noticing Marty. Biff is also in the high school, and Biff is this huge bully, and he bullies George. And Marty is such a badass that he stands up to Biff for George, which Lorraine notices, which makes Lorraine like Marty even more. So Lorraine's really falling for Marty, and you totally get it. She's not interested at all in George, and you totally get it. And so Marty has a real problem on his hands. So Marty keeps keeps on trying to get his dad, George, to ask out Lorraine. Lorraine's not interested. Lorraine asks Marty to the dance. And Marty knows that Lorraine and George have to get together at this dance and kiss because that's like the beginning of their story. So then Marty decides to set it up to where George is going to save Lorraine. Marty was like, I'm going to be assaulting my mom in the parking lot and you come and save her. Like, I'm going to be pretending to be like a shitty guy to Lorraine. You come upon us and you like fight me and save Lorraine. And that's how she'll fall in love with you. That's the plan, right? So it's really pretty shitty. Like he's setting his mom up for total failure, whether it's real or not. But while he's in the parking lot with Lorraine, Biff comes up, pushes Marty out of the way, jumps in the car with Lorraine, and is in the process of assaulting her. When George comes up, thinks it's Marty, thinks it's their staged plan, doesn't realize it's Biff. But before he can realize it's Biff, he grabs Biff and hits him and rescues Lorraine. So then Lorraine is so taken with George saving her that she does go inside with George for the dance and they fall in love.
Yay!
And because George stood up to Biff in high school this one time and saved Lorraine from being sexually assaulted, like Lorraine is somehow happier also in 1985 because
Do we
she
see
doesn't.
Biff and George's dynamic in 1985 after he stands up to him?
Yes, George is now the boss and Biff is it's
Okay, cool.
reversed. So
Cool,
George
cool.
stays a badass. He's like a published author now in 1985. He's a
Nice.
successful writer. Biff is a loser because so basically George standing up to Biff and saving Lorraine from Biff was enough for Lorraine to fall in love with this strong man who's not just a peeping Tom loser. So Marty saved his parents. So that's why she's happier and George is happier. Everyone's happier in the new 1985. Lorraine's like in shape. She's cool. She's not as prude or stuck up. She's like a happier woman in 1985 in this new
Okay.
version because her husband saved her from assault, which her son set her up for in 1955.
Okay.
So that's Lorraine. It was kind of unintended by Marty, but I do think that's questionable that Marty was like, I know, I'll attack my mom and you come save her. It's this like classic thing movies love to do where they use the assault of a woman as a plot point for male growth.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, if you could just be like kind of maybe assaulted so that my dad can arc.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah, that sounds great. Look, I know you like 1955 Lorraine, but it sounds like Lorraine can only be happy if she's with somebody who's worth something.
Right. My takeaway from Back to the Future, to jump ahead a couple things and reframe it as if it's her story. Back to the Future 1985 is a story of a miserable woman who had a second chance at happiness and the men in her life ruined it for her.
Miserable woman who had a second chance at happiness when her son went back in time to almost assault her and then didn't. Now she's happy.
She had a second chance at happiness. She could have gotten out of town. Like, I don't think 1955 Lorraine, she doesn't want George, and I don't blame her. She could have gotten out of town if she
It's a
hadn't
real
married.
sacrifice for Lorraine, isn't it? Because, like, yeah, you were with the peeping
Yes.
Tom guy, and the person you created had to go back in time so that he could stay alive rather than you having a different, better future.
Yeah, she could have had a different, better future. Yeah, but of course we don't want Marty to not be born. But that aside,
I threw him out. I was like, he can go.
yeah, that aside, like she could have had a happier life. She was not meant to be this miserable housewife married to George, just stuck in this small town. She had the second chance at happiness and they blew it for her. George does stand up to Biff, and so he's not as weak of a man. He's still a peeping Tom. So even in the new, happier 1985 that Marty returns to, she has still married a peeping Tom. He's still a loser.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's funny. I think in the 80s, it's kind of like, oh, men will be men. But
Yeah. He liked her. He had a crush on her.
but what did
But
she want to? Was there any information about what she wanted out of life, what she wanted to do? Like, so, okay.
she just has all this potential to do more with her life. And these men hold her back.
Well, I'm going to call you up on that a little bit here. How do they don't necessarily hold her back. She just chose to get married and have kids and not pursue anything.
She did. And maybe she didn't really have a lot of options because she's a teenager in 1955. It was definitely harder for women to do more. There's nothing wrong with being a mother. Maybe that's what she wanted. She wanted to be a mother. She had 3 children. But the bottom line is like the first Lorraine that we meet in the beginning of Back to the Future, that's the real Lorraine. That's the real product of what would happen if you married some loser peeping Tom from your high school who got bullied by a guy named Biff, and you just stayed in that town. She's miserable. She hates this guy and she drinks.
Yeah, I'm mad at Lorraine. Those are bad choices. You stayed in a marriage that you're not happy in. You chose to drink and not take care of yourself and smoke and you chose all those things. If you're
That's true.
unhappy, then leave. I mean, look, she's a product of circumstance. I think in the 80s, divorce was
You could
hard.
definitely
In
leave
the
in the 80s.
50s,
Divorce was common in the 80s. That's true. She could have left. But why was she happier? She still married the same guy.
the only reason this movie needed them to get married was for Marty.
Right.
If you take the fact that he might not exist out of the equation, if he was a friend that went back in time and he was like, I just need to change George's life around a little bit so that she marries somebody who's a winner. Like, it would be like, what, or she could just marry someone else, right?
Right. I would get her out of that town because this new, happier Lorraine still ends up with George. But in this case, she almost becomes a victim of a very real sexual assault. That wasn't the case before. That's worse than a peeping Tom. But I mean, it's not George doing it, it's Biff, but like, that was like really bad. I mean, Biff is like closes the door and is like, get out of here. And everyone else is like, this is going to happen. And that's because Marty set that up.
Wow.
So she kind of falls in love with George because he saves her from this trauma that only happens because Marty set it up.
Yeah.
So like, fuck these guys. She doesn't need any of these guys. They suck.
Yeah, that does suck.
The men suck.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Is it like Roman Polanski telling Marlon Brando to use butter in Last Tango in Paris on the female character?
I mean, the actress didn't know that. So, right. I
You
mean,
didn't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, they
right.
plotted to make a better scene, and she was like assaulted.
Granted, it was going to be a pretend assault from Marty, which is awful in its own right. And then Biff saw an opportunity and grabbed it. So that was unintended. Does that make it any better or worse?
And I love that Biff is still in their lives. Here's the guy that almost assaulted you. I'm his boss now, so don't you worry about it.
Right. Biff would not still be in their, yeah, they're still hanging out with Biff. Like, he's there.
Yeah.
He's a loser, but he's still very present in their life.
Sorry about that whole rape thing a few years ago. Yeah, fine.
It's all right, because I'm a loser. I mean, your husband's my boss, so it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Marty does really help his dad arc. His dad goes from being this loser who gets bullied to being this cool guy who stands up for himself because Marty helped him get there, but all at the cost of Lorraine.
Yeah.
They put her in this horrible situation for the dad to arc. And then it's like, oh, well, but 1985, Lorraine's happier. And it's like, but why? Like,
Yeah,
she
she still has that trauma that is just always kind of lurking underneath there.
I just really liked the person she was in 1955. And then it just really seemed like she fell in line. She was just like, okay, I'm going to marry this guy and have the kids and be the housewife. At least now she's the happy, in shape, non-alcoholic housewife. She had to fall in line, and her husband got to be a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Women in the 80s had careers. Maybe she didn't want one, okay, but she could at least have gotten with someone who wasn't a peeping Tom. My God.
Wasn't there like a bit of a stereotype about women with careers in the 80s, though? It's just like they could have careers, but everyone's like, she's just an angry lesbian. You know what I mean? Like, it's either you're a career woman or a family woman. Or no. Maybe am I being hard on the 80s? My mom had a job.
So my mom didn't, but my mom had 5 kids.
What would you have wanted for Lorraine? Given who she was in 1955, what would have been like a satisfying like life trajectory? Not movie, not plot, not story, but life trajectory for Lorraine.
I think she wanted to sexually explore. I think she should have gone away to college, had various lovers. I just think she should have like been able to explore more of her freedom and independence and sexuality. And then if you want to go back home and get married and have kids, okay. But I don't think she should have ended up with this guy who's a peeping Tom that she met in high school who definitely cannot find her clitoris. There's no way that guy could sexually satisfy her. She should have spread her wings and gone off and explored a little bit before coming back home.
Do you think that was an option for a lot of women in 1955? And this is a serious question. I'm not like guiding you somewhere, but like, I don't know. if
I
that
don't
was.
know. So, okay, so it's 1955, so she would have been in her 20s in the 60s. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, early
She
60s.
would have been one of those women who went to San Francisco with, Jenny from Forrest Gump.
'Cause Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road in 1955, I think, right? Like, around that time, and it was kind of, like, a big deal for him and, like, men to be on the road and just traveling and
Did he
but
write it in 1955?
let me look. But, like, there was a girl in On the Road.
I love that it's like he wrote a book in one like, there's, like, a year assigned to a book, by the way.
Well, maybe it got published in.
Well, I know the year they published because like, every book I've written, I've been writing for
I
15
know,
years.
it's so funny. 1957 novel. And that was kind of a big deal just for a guy to do it, to just be like, "Do you know what? To hell with the whole,
Mhm,
like, going to school and getting married and having kids and having a job. I wanna go travel." I think there was a girlfriend in this situation that was traveling with him, but I don't know how common it would have been for women to
mhm,
just run off and travel and explore and, like, sow their wild oats before
mhm.
getting married. I think she didn't have a choice.
Okay. Alright. I'll give you that she might not have had much of a choice. I still do want more for her. I doubt it was that common for people in the 50s to marry their high school sweethearts. I'm sure it happened way more then than it does now, but I still think that people in the 50s could branch out somewhat. I mean, my God.
God, I wish I knew more about the past. It was like, was it common for women to go to college? I'm pretty sure it was. My mom went to college, I think it was in the 60s.
My grandmother got her master's degree at a Tulane University at a time when that was not common. And granted, she was white. And I want to say my grandmother was, oh God, I mean, she was probably born in like 1908 or something. I mean, I wish I should know this. When my grandmother got her master's degree, that was a big deal and that was uncommon, but she was doing it. And that was well, she had my dad in 1941. So that means she would have gotten her master's degree in like the 1930s and she became a teacher. I mean, there weren't a lot of job options for women. I think you could be a teacher or a secretary.
Right. Right.
So,
That's what I was thinking. It was like something more like that.
but what about writers? I mean, there's always been women authors. How were women writers and artists in the 1800s and early 1900s? How did that work?
I don't know. I think
Her
maybe it's just
husband was
easier
a
to get
writer,
published as a writer, especially with a pen name.
which is the thing in Little Women, right? That's why she calls her Joe. It's Joe March.
In 1957, it was becoming more common for women to attend college in the USA. So, with women earning over a third of bachelor's degrees, yet it was not the norm, as only 5% of women over 14 were college graduates. College was often viewed as a marriage market, that MRS degree to find a husband. That's funny.
Okay, great. She should have found her husband in college.
Yeah, the peeping Tom thing's hard to get over.
Peeping Toms don't just stay peeping Toms. Usually that escalates. It's not like a, oh shucks behavior. But anyway, the TLDR for me is miserable woman has second chance at happiness and the men in her life ruin it for her again. That's what Back to the Future 1985 is. Let's get into the questions.
What does she do?
She is a mom.
Great. And she has what? How many kids? 3?
I think there's 3.
Is there any information about the siblings? Are they happy? What are they up to?
I think they're losers in the original timeline, and then when they come back, they're all cool and happy and doing cool stuff. I think he has a sister and a brother.
So Marty stays cool in any scenario, and then everybody's a loser going into cool because of Marty.
Yes, Marty saves everyone.
Okay.
Everyone's cooler. His
Except for Doc
sister,
Brown. Doesn't Doc Brown, like, die or something?
Doc Brown anticipates the Libyan terrorists named Jim and Jeff and saves himself and doesn't die.
Okay, great. What does she want?
1985, Lorraine, who we first meet, I think she wants to get the fuck out of that house. She's miserable. She hates her husband and she's very unhappy. I think she wants a different life in 1985.
Yeah.
1955, Lorraine wants Marty McFly.
What's dick?
She wants a dick. Yeah. 1955, Lorraine wants like a cool, fun guy, like we all do. She doesn't want George.
Yeah.
And she's tricked into wanting George. She never wanted George. She's tricked into liking this guy. It's like false pretenses.
Yeah. Is the audience supposed to be like, well, you can have him or Biff? So George is like the lesser of two evils?
No, I don't think so because Biff is just her rapist. Like he's not a dating prospect. I think the audience is supposed to be like, you can have George. I guess
Or
that's
George.
it. I got George or George. Like, well, she can't have Marty, and if she doesn't have George, then Marty can't exist. So the audience is supposed to really. I don't think the audience is really supposed to care about her.
No, not at all.
The audience just needs her to fall in love with George as soon as possible so that Marty can exist because Marty skateboards and he's really cool.
Just a vessel for Marty. And does she have friends?
Yeah, she's like a cool happening girl in high school. She has her friends. Yeah,
Okay.
yes. I don't think she has friends in 1985. I think the happier Lorraine in new 1985 does. 'Cause I think that she's going to go play tennis with somebody. I can't really remember.
Nice. All right. And is he good for her?
No,
No.
no chance. No chance. Sorry, Marty. I know that there can only be one Marty McFly.
Yeah.
Not even Eric Stoltz can do.
Yeah.
I'm Team Lorraine. She could do better. She should do better. No Marty McFly. I guess people are going to be like, "Oh my God, how could you say that Marty McFly shouldn't exist?" So whatever. But yeah, just
Come at us, people.
there's no world in which you could convince me that George McFly is good for Lorraine McFly.
All right. That is crystal clear. And does she arc?
1985 Lorraine arcs in that she's like a miserable alcoholic, overweight, unhappy woman. In the new 1985, she's in shape, she's playing tennis, she's happy, she's not a prude, she's like cool with Marty hanging out with his girlfriends. So she does arc in that case thanks to Marty. But then she also has another arc where 1955 Lorraine, she's this like free-spirited, fun young woman who gets like beaten into submission by the nature of the beast of being a woman in 1955, accepting her lot in life.
God damn, that is dark.
That is dark. Good thing that Marty saves her by getting her raped.
Okay. Beloved Back to the Future, we've taken you down.
Beloved, Back to the Future. I mean, don't get it. I love this is a phenomenal movie. It's a great script. I love the movie. I just, from the lens of today, being like, wait a second, the mom. I'm curious your thoughts on Lorraine.
I think she could have made her own different decisions. She could have a little more autonomy in life, especially in 1985, where it was more common. Divorces were more common. Women doing their own thing were more common. She didn't have to be miserable and smoking and drinking. And by the way, it seems like the only reason she's upset is because she's with a loser, which I don't think is very fair, because if they had a more supportive dynamic, maybe she could have given him the confidence he needed to stick up to his boss and possibly get a new job. But instead, she probably belittled him and made him feel like less of a man. For that reason, he stayed in where he was because he had no confidence. And then their sex life took a hit, obviously. And so then she feels ugly and disgusting because she doesn't want to fuck him and he doesn't want to fuck her. So she turns to drink and smoking. It seems like she's a bit miserable and she made him miserable. I don't buy that it was the other way around. I don't buy that he was miserable. He seems like a good enough guy because from what I remember of it, he kind of like stays positive in the face of all this like shit.
That's true. The original timeline, 1985, George McFly, he's like watching TV, laughing. He's happy. He's down for whatever. You're right. I think Lorraine is in charge. She wears the pants.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, if she's so unhappy, and by the way, I don't understand why people stay together for the kids. The kids can sense, like, if they see their mom being miserable, like, that does affect them. So it's not like you're doing anybody any favors. So
Yeah.
I blame Lorraine.
Yeah. Okay.
Blame it on Lorraine. Yay.
That's true. But I think she's miserable because she married a loser in high school, and I think she regrets that. Then she gets this like once in a lifetime impossible opportunity to go back in time and change it.
Well, she didn't get the opportunity. Your son did.
Well, it's given to her by her son, by Doc Brown, and she doesn't take it because her son wants to live, when you can't blame him.
Well, she was trying to get out of it. She was trying to fuck her son. She didn't know it was her son.
Right. She did try.
God, Lorraine, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. She did really try to get out of it, but it was not meant to be.
Yeah. Well,
all right. So I think that is Back to the Future 1985. Winnie, thank you so much for the suggestion. And if anyone else has any suggestions, please let us know.
Yeah, if you want to comment on anything we've said, you can email us at thenagpod@gmail.com. You can find us on social media at thenagpod. Give us follows, likes, subscribe. All of that helps. If you want to support us as we are doing all this ourselves, you have a Ko-fi. It's a ko-fi/thenagpod. You can buy us a coffee or whatever. And thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.